Hey everyone, how's it going? So I've gotten a bunch of requests to do Pyukumuku with Unaware, and I can understand why. This Pokemon is not fun to chain. It has a low call rate, and it doesn't have any attacks, which is kinda good, but it also has its ability Innards Out. And what that does is however much damage you deal to Pyukumuku to finish it off, it will deal right back to you. But there is a way to get around that. There's actually a couple ways. This is the more complicated way, but it ends up making this search a lot faster. So I have a Duosion with the move Skill Swap and the ability Magic Guard, and I'm going to give Pyukumuku Magic Guard. And now I'm going to go into my Smeargle, which has Roleplay, and I'm going to Roleplay Magic Guard. And as you probably could guess, Magic Guard protects you from Innards Out damage. So you can freely just KO the Pyukumuku in one hit, and you'd be fine. Now, I picked this Smeargle because I figured that a single Leafage with no X attacks wouldn't do enough damage to knock a Pyukumuku out. But little did I realize, even with 3 X attacks, so plus 6 in attack, it didn't actually end up doing enough damage. So I'm going to show off an alternate method that I had to use because my Smeargle fainted and I didn't have a revive. The reason it fainted, by the way, is that yes, Pyukumuku doesn't have any attacking moves, but it does have counter. Now, if you knock out the Pyukumuku, that's not a problem. But if it lives on like 1 or 2 health and uses counter, that can be a problem. Now, I'm really, annoyed I didn't get to show off finding a Pyukumuku using Leafage. Because what you would see is that for one Pyukumuku, Leafage would just do like no damage. Because what Unaware does is it ignores all the buffs I would have given my Smeargle. So, yeah, I was really excited about this strategy. It's pretty quick compared to the backup I used. But the fact you are able to do a backup that works, it is also reliable. It's just a little slower. And I'll show off that strategy in just a second. But, again, this is a perfectly viable strategy. It works pretty well. And if I were shiny hunting, I would be using this Smeargle. And instead of Heal Pulse, which really doesn't need to be there at all, I just didn't feel like, giving Smeargle a 4th move because you didn't really need one. I would give Smeargle Recycle and a Lepa Berry, and that would make it really easy to get in a very long chain. So you can see this is with 2 X attacks. Leafage just did half. So, I'm going to double its attack one more time. But once the Pyukumuku start getting better IVs, it's going to start surviving. And that turned out to be a problem. So I started to use Leavanny. And Leavanny actually works perfectly well and can protect itself against Innards Out in a bit of a different way. I don't know if Leavanny is the only Pokemon that works for this, but it's a Pokemon that I would recommend if you're really interested in getting hidden ability Pokemon or shiny Pokemon. It is quite a good Pokemon to use. So by using entrainment, you're just going to take away the Pyukumuku's hidden ability, its regular ability. So you check its ability, but you also take away Innards Out. So I'm freely able to KO that Pyukumuku on the left because now it has Chlorophyll, and Chlorophyll doesn't do any damage to me. Now, if my Leavanny was lower leveled, actually, because I'm going to use Fellstinger, perhaps I could have used the same strategy there, where it wouldn't do enough damage to an unaware Pyukumuku. But because my Leavanny is at such a high level, I wasn't going to take the chance of fainting an unaware Pyukumuku. Again, I sort of, when I make these videos, well, not when I make the videos, when I'm sort of recording the videos, I'm doing like sort of a race. Not the voiceover part, I do that after. But when I'm actually doing the gameplay part, I'm sort of like trying to time myself. Like, oh, well, I get to, beat my previous record. And no, I didn't. And the reason for that is that Pyukumuku's call rate is not very good. So it's at 6, Sharpedo's at 3, and most Pokemon are at 9, except Riolu. It's at 12 or 15. Riolu's is crazy. But most Pokemon are, I think, at 9. Pyukumuku is between Sharpedo and like, let's say, every other Pokemon. Cubone, Diglett, Jangmo. Oh, actually, that's the next video. I just failed to get one with my first strategy, so I came up with a new strategy. So I'm going to probably film that as soon as I'm done recording this voiceover. But anyway, so you can see Pyukumuku's not calling for help that consistently. That's okay because I need to give my moves some more PP. And you might have seen now a bit of an annoying thing that just happened to me. Pyukumuku knows Taunt. And this is why I prefer the Smeargle strategy over the Leavanny strategy. Smeargle doesn't need to use any status moves. So Taunt, doesn't affect you. I mean, it does, but it doesn't really do anything. But to my Leavanny, it just meant I had to stall for a few turns. And because I thought, like, oh, I'll just use False Swipe first, well, wouldn't you know, the Pyukumuku decided to use Counter. I mean, completely random. They couldn't have predicted I was going to do that. And it's, just any AI wild Pokemon is just random attacks. So, there I'm able to use Entrainment and figure out what ability it has. It has Innards Out. So I just actually switched up which one I was going to chain off of, because you want to make sure you do that, not too frequently, but, frequently enough, because I've had about 4 or 5 of my chains end by struggle. Usually, actually always with Pokemon with low call rates, but Pyukumuku's isn't great, and not all of its moves have tons of PP, so yeah. Oh, actually, I should probably also get to the Sandshrew video. I've actually put that one on hold. A lot of people have asked about that one, so that one's also on the list. But yeah, there is a third strategy you in fact could use if you really wanted to. If you had a weak enough Leavanny, you could just use False Swipe, and if it didn't do as much damage as you think it would, it has Unaware. So there's 3 different strategies you can use. So despite how annoying Pyukumuku is to chain, there are 3 viable strategies, but the Smeargle one is fastest. Now, by the way, I'm behind a substitute because I wanted to test a theory I already thought I knew, that taunt affects you behind a substitute. It does, but luckily I was taunted after I figured out the Pyukumuku on the left, once again a female, has Unaware. Now, I'm going to be honest, I'm not exactly sure why so many people want this. I guess, there's probably some sort of competitive strategy with Pyukumuku I'm not seeing. I don't really think it's competitively viable, but yeah, I mean, there's no reason, I'm not saying that's a bad request. I'm just I was wondering, how could I use an Unaware Pyukumuku competitively? Wouldn't I rather use one with Innards Out? But, I guess if you buff up your Pyukumuku with some curses, it's better, because maybe it's setup bait, but with Unaware, you can't really set up on it. At least you can't set up buffs. You can set up hazards and stuff and weather. But yeah, that's about it for this video. I'm sorry I didn't get to show off my Smeargle method, but I feel like the Leavanny method is just more realistic for many of you. I called Pyukumuku backup because this was my backup strategy, and I'm glad I thought of a backup strategy, because I sort of had a feeling the Smeargle method might not work. I was really hoping it would, but I like to plan for backups. So ever since Riolu, I guess that's just a couple videos ago, but ever since Riolu, I plan for backups. So yeah, Sandshrew, Jangmo-o, Dratini. These are ones I've been asked about a lot. There are some pretty fun methods to find which ones have hidden abilities, and I will hopefully show those off pretty soon. Until next time, any questions, let me know. Any requests, send them my way. I always like to read requests, and, I like a challenge. So, except not Hydration Lapras. Wait till Pokebank. Anyway, take care.